Well, fantastic. And I know one thing that's really important to our customers as well is that you can actually do the network audit while operations are continuing. So what do you need to be available so you can go on, do the network audit and give an insight into their networks?
Of course, there are some physical components, for example, Profibus. If you don't have a PG connector or a piggyback connector, then I have nowhere to plug in. I need to disconnect to be able to do a network check. So having these types of things in place on every segment is quite essential within Profinet to have an understanding of what devices we have on the network, what IP addresses you are, because you don't want to go plugging in anything to create a duplicate issue, because then you're just going to take the network down. Or you have the potential to take the network down. So there are some things we require to be able to do a full audit without disconnecting the network. And of course, we work around it. If I have to be there in the evening, I'll go in the evening when the process is not running,
Of course. And then for our customers, I do believe that our support team sends them a checklist of what you need to be available before you go on site so you don't disturb any operations.
Yes, of course. We send a full checklist request form that you fill in and you say, yes, we have PG connectors, we have everything that's needed. As long as it's there, we know it's good, it's happy, then we can do the measurement.
So particularly, if I surmise, the most important things that you need to not disturb the network is measuring points.
Exactly. Measuring points and real knowledge into the network. So like actual schematics, and that's not the easiest thing to get nowadays. Schematics, just the components, the correct components, and then it's fine.
Okay. Yeah. And then I'm curious. So we mentioned at the start about how big networks are important that you have that regular health check. So how often would you recommend doing audits on your network?
Sure. So, I recommend a health check at least every 3 months on your networks. But of course, to do a network audit at least once a year so that you're keeping up to date with any issues that are coming. Because of course, these are electrical components. Think about our cell phones, we replace them every 2 to 3 years. That's because electrical depreciation is taking the phone down. It's getting worse and worse over time. And it's the exact same thing in our industrial protocols, industrial networks. So we need to also keep on top of it because, as I mentioned earlier, in the future, maybe 20, 25 years from now, your network is going to go down and it's going to become even more difficult to get it up and running again, rather than if we had the measurements and we'd been checking, we could have prevented actually any shutdown from happening at all.
I know that Elmer always says you wouldn't have a car and not do an MOT once a year.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. You need to, by law, we need to get the cars checked every year or so. Sorry, MOT is a British thing. I don't know.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
So you need to do your regular checks. Yeah. And actually, I know in the UK, if you don't have an official MOT, then actually you get fined for it. Yeah. It's actually, we should do the same with
That's our dream for network audits,
exactly.
Right?
That's my dream for network audits, yes.
And also, we always say, Chris, the cost of a health check or a network audit is a lot cheaper than your network going down.
Of course. I go to customers and, they tell me if we can do this quick because they're losing, 10,000 euros an hour or 100,000 euros an hour. And that's huge monies compared to what I cost, So.
And my last question, Chris, can you give an example of where you've gone on and done a network audit and you've identified a problem that would have brought down the network at a later stage?
Yes, actually. Actually, so many. There's too many. I'm just trying to think of a very interesting one. Actually, just a few months ago, I was at a drinking water facility, and actually I was at 2 different facilities. The first facility was running fine. Profibus, they were running 1.5 megabits, no problem. But they had another site which was basically copy paste.
Yeah.
And it was exactly the same. And the second site, they couldn't get up and running. They had to lower the speed just for it to run, but it was turning off every day, and that's supplying water to the whole town. And all it was, from the day of the installation, it was just the missing termination that just prevented the network from running because it was creating so many illegals. And I was there within 5 minutes, and they've been struggling with this for a few years now. So
if they would have done the network audit sooner, problem would have been captured, fixed, and they wouldn't have had all this downtime.
Exactly. They would never have had this downtime. So, and I was there for 2 minutes. So you can imagine how all these engineers feel, because they've spent all the time changing cables and connectors and devices, and I just walk in there, flick a switch and leave, because I didn't just leave, of course. I went and I checked multiple other networks, and I did now a full network audit over multiple networks, and we pointed out a few issues, and now they've had no problems since, and it's been, 6 months or something?
Yeah, so not only does it reduce downtime, but it also helps us to identify and save money on material costs, because they wouldn't have changed all the connectors and cables if they would have had this health.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, for them to learn it, then they started calling us to go check every other drink water facility. So we are still in the process of checking all the ones around. So they're auditing every facility around. So yeah, that's very good.
Wonderful. So Chris, thank you very much for joining me today. I think the message that we're putting out to the market is health checks or network audits are really important in the process of preventative maintenance and ensuring uptime of your networks. So if you want to know more, send an email to support@procentic.com. So from me, goodbye for now.
And from me, I'm looking forward to seeing you guys on your sites. Goodbye for now.
Cheers. Thank you. Bye-bye.